Hey, Kai here from Family Wheels with another car review for your growing family. Before we get to this beautiful beast, hit subscribe to the channel on the bottom right down here and hit that notification bell so you can catch all of our reviews as soon as they come out every single week. But coming up in this episode... you changed gears! I hate that. The 2020 Acura RDX. It's the second year after a massive refresh, and there's lots of positives on this car. Amazing engine, terrific interior passenger space, huge safety rating, and much more. But is it the right car for you and your growing family? Let's find out. So this fresh generation of the RDX is like less than 2 years old, so pretty much everything from the previous year is going to be carried over for 2020. It's got a much more aggressive, sportier look than the previous generation, and certainly compared to a lot of its competitors as well. You got stuff like the BMW X3 or the X1, you've got the Audi Q3, you've got the Volvo XC60, the Mercedes as well, the GLC. Now they're all pretty amazing cars and they do look pretty good, but I think this one would look, as opposed to having maybe the S spec in the Audi or maybe the M spec in the X3, a wonderful car. You've got this sculpted grille, you've got the diamond pentagon grille on the front from Acura, which is across pretty much their entire range now. It's more luxurious than the previous generation without losing some of that interior space, which is pretty much class leading. It's really good. We're going to get to that in a little bit. Previous generation was also a V6, and the new engine, I think, is one of its absolute strengths. It's a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine putting out 272 horsepower, which is very, very generous. It goes fantastic, and it's got more torque available at a lower RPM compared to the previous V6 as well. It's got 280 pound-feet of torque. Now, I was really looking forward to driving this car because I wanted to compare it against the BMW X1, but also recently I drove the Range Rover Evoque for 2020, the new one. You can catch a link to both of those reviews up top here. Now, the Range Rover had a lot of bottom end torque and not a lot up top, and the BMW had a bunch up top, but it did have some turbo lag and not as much down low. And I feel like this engine in the Acura RDX perfectly sits right in the middle of what it could be. You've got some top end punch, which we're going to experiment with in just a little bit, but it's also got plenty down low to get you off the line. It's got a 10-speed automatic transmission, which is very smooth. You've also got sport shift, so you gear shift down here rather than the traditional gear shifting lever. Jeez. This is similar to what was in the MDX as well. I was looking forward to driving this car to compare it to the MDX also. It's got the exact same gear changing buttons, which a lot of people may not like at first, but you get used to it pretty quick. You can hit sport on it as well. You've also got the paddle shifts. Your drive modes are Eco, Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus. Now, the Sport Plus is something that the MDX didn't have, and what that supposedly gives you is proper manual capabilities on your paddles. I hate it when you've got a car with a sport mode and you floor it and you want to use your paddles and then it changes gears before you get the opportunity to anyway. God, that's annoying. But apparently Sport Plus will give you, I guess, proper manual capabilities with the gear shifting paddles. Okay, before we get to the interior passenger comfort and size and trunk and everything on this car, let's get to the pricing, because I feel like it just sits below some of its closest competitors, but it's very, very competitive in terms of the package that you get. In Canada, there's 5 trim levels. It starts at $43,990, and top trim, you've got the Platinum Elite at $54,990. This is the A spec, so this is the sporty edition, so you're getting a bunch of different trim on it that makes it a bit more aggressive, bit more of a sporty feel to it. No change in the engine or the transmission or anything like that. It's purely just cosmetic and in the appearance. And I feel like compared to the MDX, I feel like the sporty trim on this that you get with the A spec is much more integrated with the look. I feel like some of the MDX things that were added on, it just felt like it was sort of thrown in there and it didn't quite match some of the rest of the interior. But the RDX, I think, is pretty seamless in the trim that you're getting with the A spec, and the A spec sits right in the middle at $43,800. Fuel economy is not fantastic. It's not horrible, but it's not fantastic, especially compared to a lot of competitors in the compact utility vehicles, but also with the engines that are a 2-litre 4-cylinder engine. So this will get 11 litres per 100 in the highway and 8.6 in the the city for a combined 9.9, and in the States that is 22 miles per gallon for the city, 28 highway for 24 miles per gallon combined. It's not disastrous, but you know, it's on the higher side for a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder. Just on those trim levels, in the States you can actually get every single trim level available with a front wheel drive, so that's going to change your fuel economy just a little bit. But in Canada it's all-wheel drive or it's nothing, and there is a slight difference in your fuel economy for this one, the A-Spec, because it comes with the 20-inch rims, so it is very minor, the fuel economy, but pretty much exactly the same. And these 20-inch rims are beautiful actually, I really like them, and it does still give quite a smooth drive for such a big rim. It is a comfortable drive, it doesn't seem like it makes too much noise on these rims, and it's certainly comfortable for the whole family. Okay, let's test this engine. 4-cylinder turbocharged engine putting out 272 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. I'm going to select with this big, enormous, ridiculously oversized knob, Sport Plus, and then I'll hit Sport on the button. So I should have full manual capabilities with the paddle shifts here. So let's go a bit of a launch and see how it feels. Ah, you changed gears! Ah, I hate that. I wanted it to change under the paddles. I've been lied to. Interior passenger space is exceptional for a compact utility vehicle on the RDX. Lots of headspace. By the way, this panoramic sunroof is standard in Canada. Standard. I mean, not many will give you that as standard. They'll all charge you about $2 or $3 grand extra for that, but it's beautiful. It lets in lots of natural light. Trunk space on this car, it passed our standardized trunk test of the stroller, soccer ball, 2 bags of groceries, diaper bag and a camera bag with flying colors. You've got about 29.5 cubic feet of space back there, which is about 880 liters back there. So it's plenty. You've also got these tubs under the floor back there, so which is great. I mean, it means you can secure other things which are maybe a bit more breakable pretty securely. I would rather have that space up top and like drop the floor a little bit, because if you've got things sitting on top of it, it's a bit of a drag to have to lift it up and everything. But meh, you've got some nice cool storage down there as well. Also passenger space in the back. So our rear facing kids seat, we have the world's chunkiest kid seat back there, the Collect Flow, but it passed with flying colors. Not huge space. I definitely feel there's more than the BMW X1 and also the Range Rover Evoque, but it does pass the test. The front passenger still has plenty of leg room there. Rear passenger comfort is pretty good as well. This is the beautiful red leather trim. I'm not a fan of red leather on trims, to be honest with you, but these are beautiful seats. And when you are putting the kids in the car, you get some big, wide, spacious door arches to get them in and out of. I didn't feel like I was cramped putting the kids in this car and banging your heads on the door arch and everything. The doors open nicely. You've got plenty of space to get them in, and I feel like it's way more convenient than some of its competitors that we've tested recently. There's also a lever in the trunk for putting down the rear passenger seats, which is pretty convenient if you ever use it. I mean, you don't really put the rear passengers flat very often. Other things on the A-Spec, we've got heated front seats. You have to go to the very top trim level to get heated rear seats. This has got a heated steering wheel. By the way, it's the A-Spec and Up which has the heated steering wheel. You got to go to the Platinum Elite for a couple of other things like the surround view camera and also the color head-up display, but that's not to say that the reverse camera on any of the other models is not very good. It's actually quite nice. You also get Acura Watch, which has a bunch of driver safety and assist systems. Most of the buttons are just down here on the left, and that Acura Watch has stuff like the adaptive cruise, lane keeping assist, lane departure warning, collision mitigation braking, forward collision warning, and also your blind spot monitoring, which is not available, by the way, on the base model. You got to pay a little bit extra for the next trim for that. Child seat anchors was an interesting one. So a lot of the times you either got to dig for it or they're exposed and just sitting there, but on this one they're actually padded with this cover, and then you pull the cover down and your anchors are down there and very accessible. I thought it was a really nice touch. I'm not sure how many people have complained that when they're sitting in the back that the child seat anchors are digging into their butt, but if there have been enough people to complain, that is now null and void with this beautiful pad. Let's take a look at the interior. Now, the RDX has been treated as a bit of a golden child for Acura. It's been the first car to get a lot of things, including the brand new infotainment system. Now previously on Acura, and a lot of models still have it, they'll have the dual screen, one at the top, one just here, and then you've got the control wheel at the bottom. That was in the MDX and the ILX, which we recently tested. And I didn't like, to be honest, I didn't like dual screen. So this has the brand new system. It's got the 10-inch screen up the top. The graphics are way more crisp and a higher resolution than the previous systems. It looks really nice. The main drawback, and I was just hoping that this was going to be such a better system, is the trackpad. You got to keep your finger on the trackpad while you're going about. You can't just scroll through and lift up like that. You actually have to keep your finger on the trackpad to move about. And it's not bad. It's not as good as it could be. This is not a touch screen up the top either. A lot of places will have, you know, touch screen, but also the trackpad. It is split in two, so you can scroll along the side and everything. It's just not very accurate, and it takes some time to get used to. The other thing that allows for is a bit more real estate on top of it. But what they've done is put your gear shifting knobs. I would actually like that down a little bit further. It's kind of like pushed up a bit, but then the driving mode button takes up a lot of real estate. You could have put a whole bunch of other things there, and it does take a little bit to scroll through. Like a lot of other cars, they'll have like the driving mode to just be a quick button just here, and you can scroll through them really quick. But this one is slow to react and come up on the screen as well. And then you got to get to the mode that you want, and it takes it's just not very smooth. But climate control is in a good spot, being tactile buttons. That's all pretty straightforward, easy to navigate. Another thing you get on the interior here, they've utilized this whole space under this console and given you a whole nother storage tray down there. You've also got a couple of power outlets, you've got your auxiliary button, you've got more USB power down here, and your center console is pretty small, but you've got plenty other arounds. Another downer on the infotainment system is you've got Apple CarPlay, but when we recorded this, you did not have Android Auto. But Acura says there is an update to the firmware coming so that you will have connectivity with Android Auto, but at the moment, you don't have it. The other good news for the safety of your family, the RDX is an IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus, so it got their highest rating. And the NHTSA gave the 2019 RDX, which is pretty much carrying across, an overall rating of 5 stars, which is its highest rating also. So that's the 2020 Acura RDX. Hopefully you found this review useful. If you have, make sure you give it a like and hit subscribe to the channel so you can catch all of our reviews as soon as they come out every single week. Hit the notification bell so you know exactly when they're uploaded, and I'll catch you next time. From Family Wheels, I'm Kai.